I think when I was a freshman or a junior and a senior, I probably got a dollar to spend. And it seems like Betty always had more money than I did. Things didn't cost that very much because I think coffee was probably 9 cents a pound, and gas was like 20, and I think the tractor gas they bought was probably either cheaper than that. And folks, they had cream and eggs to take to the store there in town that would buy it, or their cream and eggs. Or I can remember them taking cream and eggs to Canareta and putting them on the train, and who they shipped them to or what, I don't know, but they would ship it up there, put it on at night, and it'd be in Denver the next day. And then at Thanksgiving and Christmas, where they'd pick a turkey, and I suppose they dressed it, I don't know, but they took off the feathers anyway and put these turkeys in a box and sent them out to Denver. And then Mother, in the summertime, she would sell chickens, but she'd butcher and dress them to. She had several people there in town that she'd take these chickens to. Okay. Um, I'll have to tell you about getting these chickens ready. There was a way to kill chickens in several different ways. Dad, if he went to kill one of these chickens, well, he'd grab it around the neck and break its neck. Mother, she would put a board over their heads to pull their head off. Grandpa and Grandma would hold the feet of the chicken, and Grandpa would take hold of the head, and he'd cut the head off. Kenny's mother, if she wanted a chicken, well, she'd shoot it with a 410. She was a good shot. She shot it with a 410. And but I never had I couldn't kill a chicken. I could pick them and dress them pretty fast, but I could not kill one. So this happened, after we were married. Kenny said, well, maybe you ought to learn how to pull a chicken's head off, because his mom was moving to town and so on, and I don't know how he talked me into it, but anyhow he did. And we went out, and I found a stick, and he caught a chicken, and he said, lay it over there, and he got it all set. Now put your feet on each side of that stick. Well, I did. Well, I pulled on this chicken and only got the head half off, and the crazy chicken jumped right back down the front of me, blood all over, and the chicken went a-wobbling away. Well, Kenny caught the chicken and killed it. Needless to say, I never had to kill a chicken again. Never ever killed one. Didn't intend to. Okay, the folks also had pigs they butchered, and a big calf. The calf they'd catch in corn feed before they butchered it. Well, on butchering day, it was a big day. Dad and George and Walter all worked together. And the pigs, they'd take it out, and I don't know how they did it at Walter's or George's, but Dad had a big pulley in the top of his granary, and they'd take this pig out there and tie a rope around the pulley around his feet and pull it up so far, and then one of them, and I imagine it was Dad, had cut the pig's throat. And after it was all bled out, they dip it down into a big barrel that was full of boiling water, and they dip this pig in there 2 or 3 times, and then they take their butcher knives and scrape all the head off or hair off. And then when they start cutting it, if they come to any fat or anything, they'd take it in the house, and that's where the women were, and they'd cut it into pieces to render, and this was the lard. Mother had hers in the milk house, and they'd cook this and rend till it was all melted off, and then they'd use a lard press and press all the lard off, and they had the cracklings left, and they'd use these cracklings to make soap with, or just destroy, I guess. Probably give it to the chickens, and the rest of the pigs. And it was then in the spring or in the summer time, and so they cut this pig up in different pieces, and the sausage they would cook and make into patties, and then put it in a crock jar and pour the lard over the top of it. So if you wanted any sausage, you'd just go dig down into this lard and get your sausage. They cured the bacon, and the rest of the pork they'd keep as long as they could, and then they'd put salt on it, and that kept it fresh. And if you wanted any meat, you just go down and cut off a piece for a steak or whatever. And then when it was going to start freezing and so on, or get cold, why, they butchered the calf, and it was done different. They'd lead the calf out to the garage, and then they'd shoot it. And I know Dad did all the shooting, and again, the calf was hoisted up, and this they skinned. And I don't know, the fat on it was called tallow, but I don't ever remember saving any of that. They cut out roasts and steaks and so on. And years later, the folks had a freezer, and they'd put some of this meat, whatever fresh vegetables or whatever they wanted froze, they'd leave there, and when they'd go to town, they'd bring some home. But now they had the freezers, why, they'd leave them hang out, and this meat would freeze, and then they'd slice off whatever they wanted. So they had all the milk and eggs and so on they wanted. And so you can see, how things much cost, how that $100 bill looked like a lot of money to me at that time. When Dad taught school, he said his wages were $40 a month, and my first school was $40, and my second one was $100, and my third one was $135. And I guess it depended on how rich your district was, or how much experience you had, or what, I don't know. But I do know they said like 100 or 125 was probably going wage at that time. Okay, the next thing I'm going to talk about a little bit about is money. The first time that I can remember anything about money is Dad's uncle evidently had cancer or something, because he was in bed at Grandma's house. But every time Bob and I'd go in to see him, he'd give us a nickel. And I don't know where he kept these nickels or how he had them, but we got a nickel. And I can't remember how he looked, except that there was a bandage around his throat and around his head. And I can't remember any features of him, but we remembered them nickels. We had them. When Marguerite and Betty and I were growing up, or when we were little, for our birthday, Dad would always give us a silver dollar. And one year, I was probably maybe second grade, he told me, he said, I don't have a silver dollar for you today, but he said, if I have a crop next year, I'll give you 5. And I said, oh, that sounds good. I'd rather have 5 than 1 anyway. And so that was probably the last of the silver dollars. Oh, and when I was in 2nd grade, our class had kind of a club. So every Friday we'd have a meeting. And I think probably, ever so often, I don't know how often, why we'd bring a dime or a nickel or something and put in this. It was a can with a slit in the top where we drop our money in. And even though I was 2nd grade, I was treasurer, and this was a very important job, and that money was very important. Well, when I was in the hospital with my appendicitis thing, the club decided that they'd spend that money and buy me flowers. Well, I liked the flowers, but I was kind of upset that they took, when I came back, all the money out of that can was gone. So that was the end of the money being donated. When we went to high school, freshman and sophomore year, I think I got 50 cents to spend for the week. Of course, like I said, pop or ice cream cone or a candy bar or anything like that cost a nickel. We went to the movie or the roller skating for 10 cents. So that didn't cost us very much either.
We're in the money, we're in the money. We've got a lot of what it takes to get along. We're in the money, the sky